The 80s were known as a time of great transformation in the anime genre, as more and more creators started pushing the boundaries of animation to explore bold new themes. This led to a surge in ultra-violent anime, such as Angel Cop or Demon City Shinjuku, which were defined by dark storylines, graphic and dystopian worlds, and supernatural horrors beyond one's imagination. Fans often praised these anime gems for their raw and unfiltered storylines, and over time, many of these classic creations have been buried under newer releases. Today, we're going to travel back in time to take a look at some of the most iconic lost anime gems from the 80s that were nothing less than pure carnage, and we're going to tell you all about them. Before we get into things though, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Violence Jack, Evil Town, 1988. To kick off this list, we have Violence Jack, Evil Town, a 1988 OVA based on the Violence Jack manga arc, exploring three groups sealed within an underground mall. The story kicks off on a dark note as the Kanto Hellquake results in people being trapped underground in a mall, and then it follows our lead protagonist, Violence Jack, as he investigates the split-up areas. While Taihei Shibaki explains that the Hellquake split the place up into sections A, B, and C, the story takes an interesting turn as Section C accuses Section A of drugging and assaulting them. In fact, the fashion models trapped in Section C even prove their peaceful nature to Violence Jack, who then busts a hole in the rock walls to free them, while Section B launches an attack on Section A. This film takes us on a crazy journey, as many people betray their sections to ensure their own safety, or even resort to inexplicable acts of violence in the face of desperation. Some of the characters even go as far as killing children and assaulting women, leaving them dead with strange objects inserted into them, and they even engage in acts of cannibalism, at least until Jack steps up to save the day. At the same time, he takes some extreme measures, such as decapitating Blue, a gang member from Section B, before finally meeting his own end during a fight with Solace. All the characters in the film are depicted as helpless victims, aggressive assailants, or knights in shining armor, such as Violence Jack, and it might just be a tad bit too graphic for some viewers. In fact, this one got censored in England and Australia, with most of the assault scenes cut out, but some fans have stated that the manga is even more disturbing and that the film toned down most of these scenes. Even after toning things down, this film's bound to leave a sour taste in your mouth as viewers try to make sense of the characters' rash actions, and it's hard to imagine that the story originates from a somehow even darker manga. Urosuki Doji, Legend of the Overfeiend, 1987. Written and illustrated by Toshio Maeda, Urosuki Doji, Legend of the Overfeiend was an erotic manga series released in 1985, and it was soon adapted into a series of OVAs directed by Hideko Takayama in 1987. This anime is notorious for being graphic beyond measure, and in fact, the anime adaptation deviated from the manga's storyline to add even more elements of sadomasochism, violence, and assault. This anime has also been credited with popularizing a new theme known as tentacle rape, and many fans and critics have called it one of the earliest works in the hentai genre. The story revolves around a phenomenon that takes place once every 3,000 years, wherein the human world, aka Ningenka, unites with the demon world, aka the Macau, and the man-beast world, known as the Jujinkai, in an attempt to find the super god or the Overfeiend. This super god is known as Chojin, and the anime takes us through the attempts of a man-beast named Gyaku Amano as he tries to find the super god to ensure the safe future of all three worlds. However, the story takes a turn as Amano finds himself at odds with his own beliefs through a series of tests laid out by the demons who wanted to destroy the Chojin and wreak havoc on the three worlds' plans to unite. Amano is also accompanied by Kuroko and his nymphomaniac sister Megami as they eventually end up in a high school in Osaka. As the plot thickens, we also learn that the demons are violent, perverse entities whose world is driven by sexual energy, and there are innumerable assault scenes. In fact, the women in this world only seem to exist as victims to these demons who rip them apart, and it was so disturbing that even the voice actors who dubbed these roles chose to stay anonymous. Gver Out of Control, 1986. Adapted from Yoshiki Takaya's Bio Booster Armor Gver, Gver Out of Control was a 53-minute OVA produced and released by Dark Image Entertainment. This 1986 OVA film was different from the manga as well as the 12-episode-long series adaptation, and it turned the storyline into a graphic, action-packed movie. It starts with a teenager named Sho Fukumachi who accidentally bonds with an alien bioarmor known as the Gver, and he takes on an entirely new form as a result. He also ends up fighting against the Zonoid Gregol when when he stumbles upon the Gver suit and realizes that he has newfound powers. While he turns into a superhuman overnight, Sho struggles to deal with the criminals around him, but soon steps up to the role, especially after two of his friends are killed by a sniper, while his best friend, Mizuki, is being held captive by a bunch of Kronos thugs. As it turns out, Kronos wanted to recall the lost Gver units, but Sho seems to be far too distraught to give him what he wants. The young kid starts wandering around and even has visions of Kronos torturing Mizuki, which finally prompts him to take action and save her from the thugs. While some fans might wonder what makes this anime worthy of being on this list, believe us when we tell you it's filled with imaginative and ultra-violent scenes, ranging from body horror and gruesome transformations to brutal one-on-one combats that leave very little to the imagination. All of the gory fight scenes paired with an overarching dark narrative makes Gver a classic anime from the 80s, unafraid to dig into its violent roots. 4. Angel Cop, 1989. Directed by Ichiro Itano, Angel Cop was a 6-part OVA adapted from a manga written and illustrated by Tazu Kitazaki. The show followed themes of terrorism at the end of the 20th century, wherein Japan had been established as the largest economy in the world. However, the communist radical group known as the Red May tried to bring down the country's economy and take over the government. To counter this, the officials form a new state agency known as the Special Security Force, which can take any actions outside the law to subdue radicals. Much to their horror, the Red May is suddenly wiped out, and the Special Forces realize that they're being hunted down by something far more terrifying. The show follows Angel, a no-nonsense agent of the Special Forces who finds himself in the middle of gory shootouts and a level of bloodshed that he could have never imagined. Angel Cop's hyper-violent action, paired with a controversial storyline, has made the anime a cult classic among fans who enjoy gritty, dark anime. Blackmagic M66, 1987. Introduced as a cyberpunk manga, Blackmagic M66 was soon adapted into an OVA in 1987, which was directed by Hiroyuki Kitakubo. The OVA loosely followed one of the manga chapters, which revolved around the efforts of a female journalist named Sybil, who had been trying to save a young girl named Ferris from a rogue military android. To make things worse, the military android, known as the M66 battle android, was created by the young girl's grandfather, Professor Matthews, who urges the Special Ops forces to save Ferris from the M66 that had been programmed to kill her. While Sybil is also accompanied by her protective cameraman Leaky, they get captured by the Special Ops forces and soon escape, even though Leaky is in no position to march on. While Sybil drops him off safely, she continues the journey alone and rescues Ferris, while the Special Ops forces express their gratitude. As opposed to most entries on this list, Blackmagic M66 was not a traditional action anime. Instead, it follows the dark realities of rogue androids and artificial intelligence, making it even more relevant in today's world. Apocalypse Zero, Kakugo no Suzume, 1996. Inspired by a manga series by Takayuki Yamaguchi, Apocalypse Zero, or Kakuge no Suzume, was adapted into a 2-episode OVA in 1996. The plot follows two brothers, Kakugo and Harara, who had been trained by their father to kill monsters in a post-apocalyptic world. The anime is set in 21st century Tokyo, where a powerful earthquake has wreaked havoc in the regular lives of citizens. To help his sons succeed, Oboro even gives them cyborg exoskeletons known as fortified armor shells, which were forged by merging the souls of deceased warriors. The story reveals that their grandfather was a scientist of the Imperial Japanese Army during World War II, and that he invented these armors that were handed down to his grandchildren. However, the story takes a wicked turn when a mysterious evil force possesses Harara's armor and mutates him to the extent that he switches to the evil side. He even expresses his wish to destroy humanity and cleanse the planet, while Kakugo is entrusted with the responsibility of defeating his devilish sibling who had managed to resurrect a demon army. Apocalypse Zero was largely known for the use of violence and repulsive graphics, and some critics have gone as far as to call it one of the most viscerally violent animes ever. MDgeist, 1986. Directed by Koichi Ohara, MDgeist was a 1986 anime film set in a distant future where humanity had colonized most other planets in the universe. While most of these planets existed in peace, the world of Jera had been ravaged due to decades of war, and to make matters worse, they had an enhanced human known as Geist coming their way. Geist was introduced as an MDS, aka a most dangerous soldier, whose physiology had been enhanced to equip him with unparalleled combat skills and an insatiable lust for war. When Geist eventually spiraled out of control, he was cryogenically frozen and locked away in a satellite for the longest time until a satellite crash woke him up from his prolonged slumber. He then rushes to help the army stop the planet's central computer from activating a doomsday device that could potentially wipe out the entire planet of Jera. Fans have described MDgeist as a short, brutal killfest with way more gore and violence than the plot requires. It's a fairly well-executed tale of pure carnage and bloodlust, and it's most definitely worth a watch. Genocyber, 1994. Adapted from a 1992 manga titled Genocyber, the Beauty Devil from Psychic World, this OVA was produced by Bandai Visual and released in 1994. It kicks off with a mad scientist who wants to combine the powers of a young girl and her crippled sister to activate the Genocyber, while the next episode follows the country of Karain that sends its forces to attack neighboring countries. Amidst this chaos, the Vajra tries to fuse itself with the Genocyber, even though Genocyber's psychic powers prove to be stronger and cause the Vajra to lose control of itself. As the anime progresses, Genocyber embarks on a rampage filled with destruction, and we learn that humanity has been hopefully fighting it for at least a century, with almost no hope of survival. The anime captured the feeling of sadistic glee in the most graphic ways imaginable, and critics even stated that one should be able to appreciate anger, nihilism, and angst in order to fully appreciate this show. It has many slasher and gore elements, and was also criticized by some fans due to extreme graphic violence, which makes it the perfect addition to this list. Root Search, 1986. Directed by Hisashi Sugai, Root Search is a 1986 sci-fi horror OVA that follows a research crew's adventures on a space station. The film was slightly inspired by the 1979 classic Alien, and it kicked off with the crew discovering a small ship known as the Green Planet that had fallen out of hyperspace. As the 4 scientists investigate the crew, they realize that 9 crew members are dead, while Assistant Captain Buzz is the only one to survive. They carry him to the space station, only to realize that he's been accompanied by a strange alien. While their chief directs them to throw the alien out into space, they can't get rid of it so easily, and the scientists soon feel haunted by the memories of their past sins. As they recollect every single time that they had been mean towards their friends, acquaintances, and lovers, these people call out for vengeance, while the scientists slowly start dying. To make things worse, the alien claims that he was sent by God to punish humanity for their sins. And while Root Search is not as well known among fans, it's still a horrifying tale about the consequences of interacting with forces beyond humanity's scope. Demon City Shinjuku, 1988. Directed by Yoshiaki Kawajiri, Demon City Shinjuku is a 1988 OVA that was adapted from a manga written by Hideyuki Kikuchi. This dark fantasy anime is set in a demon-infested Tokyo district called Shinjuku and follows a young martial artist named Kiyoya Izuyoi who finds himself drawn into a battle against an evil sorceress named Rebi Ra. Due to a devastating earthquake, the area has turned into a demon-haunted wilderness, and Rebi Ra has essentially taken control over Shinjuku. The story then follows Izuyoi, who has been entrusted with the responsibility of stopping Rebi Ra and facing terrorizing demons along the way to save the world from complete annihilation at the hands of evil forces. Demon City Shinjuku has a looming, eerie tone that pairs well with the violent confrontations to serve as a classic example of how 80s anime didn't shy away from showing the dark side of things to help build a narrative. Marvelous verdict! And with that, we've explored the top 10 lost anime gems from the 80s that took violence and brutality to a whole new level. While some of them may have raised eyebrows at the censor board offices due to their gritty, unfiltered content, they were a huge hit among fans back in the day, and they're timeless pieces of media that anime fans even today will enjoy. From Angel Cop to MDgeist, this list has something for every anime fan out there, and we'd love to hear your favorite picks in the comments down below. That's all we got for you this time, but if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.